I'm Anna Garrett, and I'm here today with Lisa Larter. And Lisa is our keynote speaker for the Medipreneurs Summit in April. And I'm so excited to have her here with me. Lisa has been my business coach for, I don't know, 3 years or so at this point. And I have just gotten such amazing results by working with her. But she is a business consultant and social media strategist, as well as an author and speaker. And she works with businesses to help them maximize their profits using social media, relationship marketing, and really simple, eye-opening systems that generate results. And Lisa, one of the things I love about you is that that you've really helped me with is that I don't have to sell my soul in order to have a successful business. And that's a beautiful thing because it takes a lot of the pressure off. Lisa has worked with a wide variety of clients. She's worked with online entrepreneurs, retail groups, politicians, authors, and speakers. And her favorite advisee was Deepak Chopra, and his comment for her was, "Lisa, you're the best." And I totally agree with that. So thank you for being here with me today.
Oh, thank you for having me. And I can't wait to see you in Asheville. It's going to be so much fun.
Yay! I know, I'm very excited. So I want to talk to you today just a little bit about some advice you might have for our attendees and a little bit about your experience and what you've learned along the way. Because one of the things I love about you is that you went from being an intrapreneur to being an entrepreneur, and you went all the way through that spectrum. And I think people think they have to choose one or the other sometimes. And so I'd like to hear from you about how you took your intrapreneurial experience and translated it into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, and I actually went from, intrapreneur to a dealer model, which is very similar to owning a franchise, to a public figure, service-based consulting business. So there's been many kind of steps along the way, which is great. So where would you like me to start?
So when you were working with TELUS, the wireless company, I know that you and I have talked a little bit about this, but tell our listeners a little bit about what you learned in that role that you were able to translate into your entrepreneurial business.
Awesome. Yeah. So TELUS is one of the largest telcos in Canada. And when I was hired originally to open one of 6 flagship retail locations for them. And a year later, I was brought onto a team of 3 people who were responsible for building their national distribution channel across Canada. And one of the values that TELUS brought to the table and the culture that they tried to create was to really support people on the path of where they wanted to go. And I really wanted to be an entrepreneur. I really wanted to own my own business. And so I was encouraged to really look at everything that I did while I worked inside of that organization as my sandbox to learn how to be a good entrepreneur. So working inside of this big organization really gave me the foundation to understand metrics, the metrics that matter in business. It really gave me the opportunity to learn really great leadership skills. I had a team that I supported of about 1,000 people across Canada. It taught me how to move people to reach a common goal, so to achieve sales goals. It taught me systems thinking. So when I went into my own business, it wasn't just about selling a widget. I actually understood what it was like to work for a big organization that had multiple channels inside of that organization and a really sophisticated way of looking at business. And so those are some of the things that, I really brought to the table and was able to strengthen and learn inside of that organization. Everybody thinks that when you start a business, it's just about getting customers. But the truth is your business is the processes that you put in place to treat your customers well, the relationship management skills that you have that attract people to your business, and then obviously your subject matter expertise. That is a given.
Well, and I think, this discussion brings up some thoughts for me. I never really looked at my hospital pharmacy experience as my sandbox for what I do now because it's so different. But I created 2 positions in my career in hospital pharmacy. And so it was all about selling the benefits of that to the higher ups who were going to make the decisions. You know, what do the numbers look like? How is it going to affect patient care? So I think that, you know, for people who are in a situation where they're working for a company, if they have an interest in entrepreneurship, they can start to look for those nuggets that they could pull out of that and into their own business.
Totally, because all selling is a transfer of belief.
Right.
And so if you can't transfer belief internally inside of your organization, then it's going to be a lot harder for you to transfer belief and influence people who are making buying decisions outside of an organization. So there's so much that you can learn when you're working inside of an organization, and those skills are transferable.
Absolutely. And you're getting a paycheck in the process. It's like paid learning. So what are you excited about as far as the Medipreneurs conference goes? This is the first one we've ever done, and obviously it's a leap of faith on a lot of levels. And you know, to have you come as a non-pharmacist really excites me, because I feel like we as pharmacists need to be learning from non-pharmacists who have a completely different experience. In fact, my husband and I were having this conversation this morning, and he's like, pharmacists shouldn't be teaching pharmacists anymore. They should be over in the business school taking courses. And I was like, well, there's probably a lot of truth to that. But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to go down a rabbit hole. But what are you excited about in Asheville?
Besides coming to Asheville and seeing you, I am excited about the future for people who work in pharmacy. I think that, you know, the internet and social media makes the world a much smaller place. And we are seeing so many changes happening in our world today. And the more technological we become, the more high touch is necessary. And your pharmacist, whether it's somebody who's in a hospital or somebody who is in a bricks and mortar pharmacy, is somebody that people have to trust. And, you know, social media and building your business online is all about relationship building. And pharmacists have to be able to build solid relationships with the people that they're working with. I'm also excited because I think the way that we look at medicine and healthcare and even the pharmacist's role in the world is changing. Mm-hmm. Imagine even, you know, if you think about, what's the word I'm looking for? Artificial intelligence, AI. You should be able to actually have a conversation with your pharmacist on Facebook. Yeah. And be able to ask a question about, you know, medication. Is it okay to do this? Is it okay to do that? Do I need to come to the hospital? Am I all right? I think there is a role where pharmacists have so much information that people can really leverage. And as the population ages, and we all know the baby boomers are one of the largest groups of people, I think the information that pharmacists have to offer and the business opportunities that are associated with that is huge.
Well, I think one of the things that we get caught up in as pharmacists is we get paid 6 figures like right out of school. Mm-hmm. And so when you think about creating your own business, I think there's a lot of fear around, you know, how do I get out of the golden handcuffs, so to speak? What would you say to somebody who has a really well-paying job, whose practice no longer really fulfills them? It's really kind of about getting the paycheck. What would you say? How do you overcome that fear and move in a different direction?
Oh, that's a tough question, Anna. You should have told me to think about this one. You know, here's what I would say. Money does not make us happy. You know, sure, money allows us to buy things and do things when we're not feeling happy, but I don't think a pharmacist becomes a pharmacist just because of the paycheck. Mm-hmm. I think a pharmacist becomes a pharmacist because they care about people, they care about health and well-being, and they want to make a difference in the world. And so what I would tell people is go back to your roots. Go back and ask yourself, why did I go into this industry? And how has this industry changed since I first went to school? And if money weren't on the table, if somebody just gifted me $1 million and I didn't have to work, what would I do right now that would be really meaningful in my life? What would the next stage of my career look like? Because I think the biggest problem that people have is clarity on what the next step could and should be for them. And you've got to get yourself out of the scarcity mindset of, oh my gosh, I have to give up a paycheck, and actually put yourself over here and think about, what is the upside of all of this experience I have? What is the upside of the internet? What is the upside of being a public figure and being in charge of my own destiny? What else can I do? When I left TELUS, I walked away from a six-figure job. I walked away from a six-figure job plus benefits, plus a pension, plus stock options. And yep. I gave it all up. And I opened my own bricks and mortar retail store, and I used the equity in my home to open that store, and I didn't pay myself a paycheck for the first 2 years. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, when I first started paying myself, I was paying myself $25,000 a year, and I was the happiest I was ever in my life, because I knew that I was in control of my future and my destiny. And I pay myself more today than I ever made when I was at TELUS. But I had to also transition out of that retail business. So when I left TELUS, I did the safe thing, all right? I opened a bricks and mortar store, and that's probably what a lot of pharmacists do. They go from working for an organization as a pharmacist to maybe opening a pharmacy in some cases, and then they realize they have the same job and they want to do something different. And so if you take the path I did, it was 1 day a week. I focused on building my consulting business for the first year. And then the next year, it was 2 days a week. And then the next year, it was 4 days a week. And the next thing I knew, I was an absentee business owner, and I was putting my store up for sale. So there is a way to do it, but you can never do it until you get clear on what difference you really want to make in the world.
And I mean, the way I did it, I mean, it took me 5 years to completely get out of the hospital's filling in job. I mean, I was a pharmacy manager when I started this, and fortunately I had the flexibility to do some things and be able to just start really slowly. And so I made the decision to hire a coach right out of the gate to help me figure out what I needed to know, because I mean, I didn't have time to, plow around on the internet and figure out everything I needed to figure out. So for me, it was worth that investment. So
right, but it also took you 5 years, and you hired a coach right out of the gate.
Right.
So what happens is most people, it will take them a lifetime, and they'll never actually make the leap because they don't have the support that they need. It took me 5 years to get out of my retail store and into what I'm doing today.
Right.
People underestimate how long it takes, and they don't start soon enough, and then they end up with a mindset that's too late for me. It's never too late to start.
Right. And I mean, I was 50 when I did this, so it's not like it's ever too late. Right. But you're right. You have to be clear on what it is you want and how you want to make a difference. I think that's really important. So the last question I want to ask you is, if you had to give entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs or anybody who has just a little nugget of an idea, one piece of advice, what would that be?
Flesh out your idea. Figure out how you can monetize that idea. Start with, like, what is the business model that could be wrapped around this idea? Don't share your idea with your family or your friends or your colleagues if they are not entrepreneurial, because they will all tell you it's going to be hard. They will all tell you you're crazy to give up your cushy six-figure job. But instead, share it with somebody who had the courage to walk away from something and build something from scratch themselves. Our ideas are meant to be nurtured. And when we let our ideas go to our minds to die, it's a really sad thing, because you could be doing really incredible things in this world if you were just brave enough to nurture your ideas and take the first step.
one of the companies that I do podcasts with actually sent me a book called What Do You Do with an Idea? And it's a kid's book. I have it upstairs. I wish I brought it down here with me, but it's about that. It's about letting your idea grow and playing with it and, feeding it and giving it your attention. And, not all ideas are meant to be, but you're right. I mean, sharing them with people who are clearly not going to be supportive is such a bad idea, because it just takes the air out of your balloon, and that's
I can still hear my mom. I can still hear my mom. Oh my God, child, you're gonna do what?
Yes. My mother passed away before I went down this road, so I didn't have to hear it, but I sure would have. And my dad's actually never really said anything about it. So I think he just kind of looks at me and goes, "Where did you come from?" But anyway, well, I appreciate you being here with me today. It's been great to chat with you. And again, we're really looking forward to having you in Asheville to share your wisdom in person. And I love that it's going to be a small group of people, because we'll all be able to interact and get to know each other. So that'll be a lot of fun as well.
Yes, I can't wait. I'm going to ship you books too, so that everybody who comes gets a copy of my book. It's going to be
that's awesome. I knew you had told me that you were going to do that. So yes, I will be looking for those, but not yet. Well, thanks for being here, and I will talk with you soon.
Thank you.